Well, welcome back, Sharon Zientara, who last joined us for It Girl Crochet, which might have had the coolest cover ever on a crochet book. It had such those beautiful knits that were so nice, and I saw on your blog that you had done them for yourself in a different colorway. They were so pretty. So I was really excited that Interweave was doing a crochet version of the 3 skeins or less that they did the knit version with Tanis Gray, which Tanis was here last year to talk about that. So welcome back, Sharon. It's good to see you.
Thank you.
So tell us how this book came about.
Well, since Interweave was already doing the knitted version, and they were looking for someone to do the crochet version, they contacted me and asked me if I'd be interested. And while I sort of alluded to this in the introduction, I'm not one for quick projects. I feel like it's a little antithetical. I love handmade, and I love the idea that it takes some time to make a thing, and it's not instant gratification. I sort of ended up embracing it because I worked with a lot of my favorite designers. So.
Oh, that's nice. So, yeah, and there's a place for the like crazy color work, ankle length coat in your, because I don't know, like most people that I know have more than one project going at the same time. And they don't finish just one thing before they start another. Are you a multi-project, multitasking kind of knitter?
No, I'm fairly monogamous. I like garments, and I like to make the garment until I knock it out. And so I'm normally working on one thing at a time.
Wow, that takes self-control.
Yeah.
And while you're married to that particular project, do you avoid purchasing any more yarn?
To be honest, I was running a yarn shop before this. And then prior to that, I was working at Interweave, and my stash is so out of control that I probably don't need to shop for yarn unless it's for a garment. I do buy yarn for garments, but I don't do like single skein or one-offs. And I have a friend who's a dyer that I buy things from, but I have an obscene amount of yarn.
Yeah, and I have a huge stash, but I do find that when I decide I'm going to knit a sweater or something, well, invariably, because I live in 2 different places, the yarn that I want is in the wrong place, and then I end up, it's tough. But I'm like you, I don't buy single skeins or enough for a scarf, or I don't do impulse buying anymore. Because I got plenty of that to take care of that. So. Yeah, Kate says that she usually only has one project going at a time as well because she forgets what she was doing. Because you have to take really, really careful notes if you're working on more.
Especially with a garment when you have multiple shapings going on at the same time. And I mean, I think all of like the e-readers that are out there for PDF patterns are a little bit better in terms of being able to like, take notes and say how many repeats I did of this thing and where I am in this repeat, but still, it's too much for me. And also I like the finished product, so I'm ready for that gratification. I think that's why I do it, because I want the thing. If I'm making it, I want it because I want to wear it. It's not so much the process a lot of the time for me. I think there are process knitters and crocheters, and then there are like production crafters, and I'm more of a production crafter. I want the thing. I want it.
I like it to be finished, so I just don't have to think about it anymore. But I also try to pick projects where I'm learning some new skill or there's something going on that's going to make me enjoy the process as well. But yeah, I will admit I usually have 6 or 7 things going at a time. I'm not very monogamous when it comes to my projects.
You're so not alone.
That's what keeps yarn stores in business. So now on this book, how were you involved in choosing the designers, or was the submissions already done to Interweave? How did that work?
No, I basically chose everything on this one. I chose every design and every yarn and the palette, and it was That's what I loved about working on It Girl, is that I had a lot of creative freedom. I chose everybody that I worked with and every design, and so that's why I couldn't help but work with them again, because it's just, how fun is that to just have complete creative control? So it was pretty great.
Yeah, that rarely happens in the publishing. I mean, virtually never happens in the publishing world. So unless you start your own publishing house, you kind of, yeah, to have that kind of creative control is really something. So this
Yeah.
book has got adorable projects, which we're going to do a little guided tour of the book now. But it's funny, we're more than halfway to Christmas now. Christmas and Hanukkah and the winter summer, or the winter solstice, and Kwanzaa. So lots of holidays coming up at the end of the year. We're more than halfway there now. So I kind of like knocking out my gift knitting early. I will admit that Kate says better get started. I'm good ways into my holiday gift knitting this year, because I don't know why Christmas always sneaks up on me, even though it's the same day every year. It's I just kind of felt like I had to get a jump on it this year, so I didn't create more stress for myself come December. So the accessories are such a great gift project, because you don't have to worry about fit, and everybody wears accessories, whether it's scarves or gloves or mitts or wraps or shawls, but or this adorable hat, which I think I'm going to have to make for my daughter-in-law once we get to that point. But so I think everybody loves accessories, because it doesn't matter if you gain or lose 20 pounds, you're going to still wear them.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think we all love those accessories. So let's take a look at, and I just pulled a kind of a sampling of different kinds of projects in here. And so let's get talking. It's crazy. When I first looked at this, I thought it was knitted I-cord.
It looks a lot like it.
Doesn't it? So tell us about this. And this is, I forgot what this is called. It's actually in the vote for tomorrow. Something cowl, but it's gone.
Yeah, I don't remember the names.
Yeah, right out of my head. So
but it is designed by Brenda KB Anderson.
Yeah, who was like one of my favorite. Like she does like the cutest little animals and just adorable crochet. And she's had a couple books out in the last couple years for herself. Beastly Crochet. I think she was here to talk about Beastly Crochet. So
yeah, she's a good lady.
Yeah. So now this is a self-striping yarn that creates this, right?
Yeah, it's this really cool yarn. It's called Unisono. It's from Zitron, distributed by Skeins, and it also has lanolin in the yarn, so it softens your hands while you work with it.
It's a twofer.
Interesting, yeah. But it has like a million great colorways, all with, and it's all self-striping. So,
Really?
and she based this design on, like the stackable jelly bracelets that you had when you were a kid, and so she thought it would be cool to make a cowl like that, which is brilliant.
It really is. And I look at it and I go, I think it's probably not really hard to make, but it's definitely a lot of bang for your buck style wise on this, because you could make this in something glittery and do it for an evening. And it's and it's all about the button then, which I have a huge button collection, which a lot of people I know are like me, and they buy them even when they have nothing to put them on, just because someday they'll use them. So just one really special button, and this is a really easy project. I think this is a 2 skein project, if I remember correctly.
It is, yeah. And you could take out some of the tubes, do more or less if you want to do it that way. You could make them longer and have a super long cowl that you could double up. Yeah, it's really versatile.
Yeah, very, very pretty. Very pretty. I love how it's styled on her, too. It's just really nice. I was drawn to it.
I love the styling in this shoot. I had nothing to do with that.
Well, you know what they did, because it has a very different look than It Girl. But with with the color palette and how everything is shot, it's just, I don't know, it's very restful. It's a very restful looking book, which it just, yeah, because It Girl I thought was like kind of bright and it had a lot of pop to it, and this is just very soft and it's very, very pretty. It was really pretty how they shot this book. So tell us about this. This is a really interesting little wrap here.
Yeah, so this is a motif project, so all those motifs are actually made individually and then attached. And she actually gives directions to do join as you go or to seam afterwards, which I really liked. This is Regina Rue, and she's someone that I hadn't worked with before, that I had put out a little bit of a call for people. Normally for It Girl, I didn't have to put out a call at all. I just contacted people, and so this one was a little bit more hard fought, I guess. And there's also instructions where you can seam it underneath the arms, so you have like a little top instead of a capelet.
Oh, so it's more like puts a little sleeve in it, basically.
Yeah.
Really, really pretty. And I mean, I could see that like in white for over like a strapless bridal gown or something. It's really, really pretty. Or make them for the bridesmaids. Just lovely.
Yeah, I agree.
It's all about, yeah. And Kate says she loves this gold color, which I agree. It's really,
it's really great.
Yeah, it is. So, and these were so pretty. You know, I actually had not seen motifs used in like the bottoms of slippers before. And this is a great gift because, you know, they stretch so much, you pretty much don't have to worry about size. So I just love this, and I love the fuzziness of the yarn. Tell us about this project.
So this one is Christina Mershon, and it is all motifs, actually, and I've made several pairs of these even before the book was published because they're super quick. You just make, I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 motifs all together, and then you just seam them together. It's amazingly fast, and it's a universal yarn. I think it's called Poems.
Yeah.
And it's a self-striping again, so you get like different colors on each. That was fun too, to like put the motifs together in a color like combo that I really liked, and it's a lot of fun to make and super quick, especially good for gifts.
Yeah, we love the super quick for gifts, because then we can get back to knitting sweaters or crocheting sweaters for ourselves.
Yeah, I crocheted these in an evening.
Oh wow.
It was very fast.
Well, that's not to encourage people to wait till like December 22nd to start their holiday knitting or crochet. Yeah, Denise says these are beautiful. I agree. They're really pretty. So, and this project, you know, I had to look twice because that's the crazy thing about Tunisian crochet. It looks so much like knitting, but it is so much faster. So
it isn't even Tunisian. This is just slip stitch in the back loop only.
Really?
Yeah, which is one of Brenda's. This is another Brenda K.B. Anderson one. It's one of her favorite things to do is the slip stitch, and it's literally, I mean, you cannot tell that it's not knitting unless you go up and actually pull apart the ribbing, but it's pretty amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, Kate says that's crochet, which, yeah, when I first looked at it, I was like, what the heck? And I thought it must be Tunisian, but yeah, that's really beautiful. And then you get that same look that you would get from knitting. And this too, self-striping yarn, right?
Yeah, this is a self-striping, and it's called a pre-felt. So it's kind of like a single ply, but it's actually been partially felted and agitated. So it's sort of felty. And it makes it really easy to do the slip stitch with. That's why I picked it, is because, you know, if you have stranded yarn and you're trying to do this, like get into the slip stitch in the back loop only, it's really uncomfortable and not fun to do it. The yarn splits. So to do it with a single ply, and especially a pre-felt like this where the yarn just sticks together, this would be super fast and super fun too.
Wow, really pretty. So, and this is kind of what I think about when I think about crocheted like wraps, like lacy wraps. And this was just, I think the thing that drew me to this was how large the space is between the motifs, which gives it kind of a sexy bear look to it, but it's so feminine and girly that it's not like slutty. You know, I mean, it's bare without being, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, your mother could wear that and not be, right? It's not like, yeah. So you know what I'm talking about. So tell us about this project. It's so lovely.
So this one is Kathy Merrick, who is another one of my favorite people in the universe, and she does great things with motifs. She pores over different motif books from all over the world and finds these really amazing patterns and then puts them together in cool ways. And this one also has several options in terms of assembling the motifs in different combinations afterwards. And then this is another yarn that is, it's actually knit up on a knitting machine first, and then they paint it by hand. It's hard to tell from the pictures, but in the book it shows up a little bit better. They paint it by hand while it's been knitted up, and then they unknit it and wind it into a ball.
Oh,
it's really
my goodness. Yeah, that's crazy. That's a lot of work to get the color. Yeah, and well, they're using a knitting machine. That helps. That somebody's not knitting that up by yards and yards and yards and then painting it. But yeah, so pretty. And I just love how delicate the edges are on this, and the fact that you get the full shapes as opposed to, creating some kind of artificial edge on it. It's just really, really pretty.
Yeah, it's just really organic, and yeah, it's great.
So, and this, I thought this hat was so adorable, and it just happens to be yours. Your design. Yeah, and I have a daughter-in-law who just looks great in like vintage, like 20s, 30s, 40s stuff. And I saw this and I thought, oh, this would be so cute on her. I think I might have to dig through the stash that I have where I am now and find something great for this. But this is so cute. It's so flapper style. Tell us about this cloche.
So there's is it called Boutique Knits? Is that there's the classic book from Interweave that's called Boutique Knits, and it has some great cloches in there, and I really wanted to make something like that for crocheters because I don't think that there's a super great 40s style cloche with a little flourish on the side. And I played around with the little edging. That's actually an edging, and then I ended up just gathering it on the side because it looked a little bit too much. So that's pretty much it.
Yeah, it's very cute. What did you make this in?
This is a Rowan. It's an alpaca, and the name of it is escaping me, but it's a Rowan yarn, and it's a really great alpaca blend, and it's super pretty and heathered, and it comes in some really great shades. And it's a chainette too, which is always really interesting to work with.
Yeah, and it creates a nice texture too, because this actually has a very woven look to it, and which is really, really pretty. So, and then you're welcome. So then we have the cover project, and boy, this color is really just spectacular. Tell us about this wrap.
So this is another Christina Mershon one, and it's again another really versatile project. When she sent in her submission, she had it styled in a whole bunch of different ways, like a scarf, like a wrap, like a shawl. Because there's actually a little knot on it that you can slip through the rest of the scarf, or you can wear it like a normal shawl, or you can wear it like a scarf too. And I think they might have done that in the actual book. And it's also beaded too, but you could just opt not to do the beads. It's hard to tell, but on the edge, on the bottom edge there's a whole bunch of beads, which is really pretty.
Yeah, and I'm a firm believer there's no such thing as too many beads. I love beads. I just love them. So yeah, Kate says this looks really versatile, which and Kate, in the book it does show it styled different ways, but this is just it. It looks like it's a short repetition. It's like easy to remember the stitch pattern, and it's kind of something you can do while you're sitting in front of the TV, or at the doctor's office, or watching your kids play Little League, or it's not like you're having to track so many different designs and stitch patterns at the same time.
Yeah, and it's lace, but it's not lace weight. It's actually a DK weight yarn. It's ultra alpaca, Barocco ultra alpaca.
I love that yarn.
I love that yarn too. It's one of my favorites ever. And so it's really easy to, it's not like you can be working like 30 rows and you feel like you haven't done anything yet, which is something that drives me crazy.
Yeah, you need to, and the thing about crochet for me is it creates a lot of real estate really quickly. as
Yeah.
opposed to knitting. So, I mean, that to me is the point of crocheting, is that I'm creating a lot of fabric really, really quickly. It helps keep me from losing interest, since I have a relatively short attention span. But yeah, this looks like something that I could do while I was doing other things, listening to a book, or, because I'm not having to count so much with,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. So, oh, and Denise wants to know, is that brand of yarn really soft, the Ultra Alpaca? Oof.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a fantastic yarn. There's Ultra Alpaca Fine, Ultra Alpaca Light, and then Ultra Alpaca. So I think it's a fingering weight, and then sport weight, and then a DK weight. So they're all amazing. I mean, and they have big put-ups too, which is something that I always look for in a yarn. Like, I don't want like a 100-yard skein. I want something that has like some meat to it. And so these are all really big.
Yeah, less ends, which is always a good thing when you have a hank of yarn that's got good yardage on it. You have fewer ends to worry about. But you'll be, and Denise, if you knit or crochet with that, you'll be sorry when the project ends, because it feels so nice in your hands. It's really, really a gorgeous yarn. So yeah, so knit and crochet away. Yeah, she's gonna pick some up. There you go. So now this does not look like crochet, this gator here. So tell us about this.
Yeah, so this is Tunisian. This is one of those things where, yeah, you can barely tell, except for the fact that it has a crochet edge, you can barely tell. It's a worsted, or it might be even a chunky yarn, so it works up really quickly, and it's a really easily memorized stitch pattern. This is Beth Nielsen. She's one of my favorite designers. She's a fashion designer, or was a fashion designer. I don't think she's a mommy now, so I think she might be doing this full time, but she does really great fashion forward kind of stuff, and this is one of my favorite projects in the book.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like knitted houndstooth. It looks like stranded knitting. So, it's crazy that it's crochet. And it shows another good use of where you just take, where like buttons or some other little trim can make such a huge difference in the finish level. Because this looks so much more couture, because it's, with the button trim on it. It's really, really fun. I actually want someone to make one of these for me. I kind of don't have time to do it right now for myself, because I'm elbow deep in holiday knitting, but it's just really sharp. And then these are so cute, these mitts. And so tell us about this project.
Yeah, so this is Linda Scuja one, and she originally had submitted an idea for like a motorcycle type glove, and this is sort of what it morphed into, and I really love the way that it worked out. And I think this is Cascade 220 Sport Superwash, so it is washable, because I think if you put something on your hands, all my mitts that I have made for myself, I regret not making them in washable because they get dirty and they get gross and you have to wash them frequently. So this is a throw in the washing machine type of project too, which I love. And it works up super quickly. I mean, you could whip this out in an evening too, because they're lacy and they're very quick.
Yeah, and not too many patterns to actually have to stop and look at the charts all the time. Once you get the first couple down, you're off to the races, which is nice. And this is one of my favorite. This is one of my go-to yarns, just because, and it comes in 1,000 colors. So if you can't find a color you like in Cascade 220, there's something wrong.
You just don't like color. Yeah.
I mean, you clearly don't like color. Though they do have black and white and like 20 shades of white. So if you're a purist, but yeah, they're just literally hundreds of colors. So this is a great stash project. So yeah, off to the races with that one. And this is so interesting. I actually had to, like, when because I get my books in PDF version for review now, and I had to go, like, kept flipping pages because I was like, what the heck? So tell us what this is here, what this project is.
This is another Christina Mershon one, and this is in Zauberball, so it's a self-striping. Zauberball is one of my favorite self-striping yarns ever. It's got super long repeats, so it's wonderful for crochet because you won't, have the zigzag effect with stripes. Like, the stripe isn't going to run out when you get to the end of the row. A lot of times that happens with crochet. It's just like a bandana with the little danglies on the end. So you really could do the bandana and just add the danglies on wherever you want. Sorry, here's a cat. And and I really love it. And also Zelber Ball comes in a ton of colors too, and it comes in and it's washable because it's a sock yarn, so that's also amazing. And it comes in with nylon and without nylon, and it's great. I love the yarn, and the project is perfect for it.
Yeah, really, really pretty. And because when I looked at this, I thought, oh, well, I like the edging, but I can also see like beads on the edge, or like large beads on the edge, or like wood beads dangling from the edge. I mean, it was, there's a lot of different ways that you could use that and kind of make it your own as well. Kate says she loves this, which, yeah, this would just be I think this would be fun too. And I've used this yarn before, and the fun part is kind of watching the color unfurl as you're working.
Yeah, I love that about self-striping. And I think it keeps you going too, because you're like, what color is coming next? I got to get to it.
Exactly. So it's like a mystery as you're knitting or crocheting along to see how the colors are going to all come together, which is always fun too. So, well, so 3 skeins or less. So stash or quick trip to the yarn store without a big budget, which is always a great thing. So especially if you have a large gift list like I do. So so let's so I know people are going to want to keep track of you. So let's show them where they can find you. First of all, you have I think this website is newer for you, right?
It's newer, and my logo is coming together, and we're working on it. So, but I'll be blogging pretty regularly. And
all right. So this is you'll find Sharon at Stitch Cat Designs. And for those who are coming back and watching this on YouTube, you can't see that Sharon is currently with Cat in her lap. So
there's a cat in a cone.
Actually, a cat in a cone on her lap. Poor kitty. So my dogs hate that cone. So Stitch Cat Designs is where you can find Sharon, and you can also check her out on Pinterest, which I love. I love boards from designers because it's always interesting to see what inspires and moves them as well. And so of course it's Pinterest. It's Stitch Cat Design on Pinterest. And then Sharon, because she's like the new age designer, so it's always about Instagram. So you can follow Stitch Cat Designs on Instagram as well. And so Sharon, I know you were at Interweave and you ran a yarn store, but now you have a totally different job, if you want. So what are you doing now?
Yeah, so I'm my cat. So I am now the marketing director for the Principles of Knitting. It's June Hemmons Hyatt who wrote the Principles of Knitting. People may know her from there. It's like the knitting Bible. If you're a knitter and you don't have it, you should. And we have started making knitting belts, and we'll be hopefully teaching them at Vogue Knitting Live. It's a traditional tool. That was, we're not sure if the origins are in Shetland. We're still working on learning more about where it's from, but it's used in Shetland a lot. In the United States, when you talk to knitters, they're, look at you cross-eyed and they're like, what is a knitting belt? But when you're in Shetland, everybody owns like several, like their mom's knitting belt and their own knitting belt and maybe their grandma's. And so we're, June's son, Jesse, has redesigned the knitting belt for the modern knitter, and this is basically like the Cadillac of knitting belts. There's my hands demonstrating how to use one. And so we make them and sell them, and we hope to teach a little bit more. June's taught at Vogue Knitting Live and a couple shops around the country, and hopefully we'll be doing more in the future. So yeah, that's what I'm up to.
Yeah, and actually, I think, and I'm trying to remember if it was Nikki Epstein talking about, like in Italy, where the ladies all use these really long knitting needles, and they kind of jam them up underneath their arms or they put them in belts. And she was talking about how much faster it is to knit when you're not actually having to control the location of your needle in, time and space. So so she was talking about how much easier this is. And I've never actually seen it done. I've heard about it. So, so if I make it back to Vogue Knitting, I think I'll take one of these classes, because anything that makes you knit faster and that causes less body strain, I'm totally down with. So, oh yeah.
Yeah, it's great, especially if you have arthritis or chronic pain. But it's just great if you want to knit fast too. The world's fastest knitter, Hazel Tyndall, she knits with one, and you can look her up on YouTube and see how fast she knits. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So everyone knits like that.
It's great if you're an end result knitter as opposed to a process knitter.
Yeah, it is. And I don't always knit with one. Sometimes I just like to knit really fast, and sometimes and June always says you should know at least several different ways to knit, so that if you're injured or whatever you have, or for whatever project you're working on, sometimes a different way of knitting is more conducive.
Yeah.
Especially if you do color work, you need to be able to throw and pick, and so yeah, it's really a fantastic thing. And I know the Yarn Harlot teaches cottage knitting, like you had mentioned, where you tuck your needles underneath your arms, but she also teaches how to knit with a belt too in her classes.
Yeah. So there's having more arrows in the quiver, never a bad idea, right? So, and I think people just find what works for them, but having more than one way to do it is always a good thing. So that's pretty cool. So you can check that out and it's principlesofknitting.com is the website for that. And then you can also check out Sharon on Sharon's designer page on Ravelry, if you're on Ravelry. And it's Sharon-Zientara is where you would find her projects, and a picture of a cat. So
always cats.
Always cats. So I got a house full of dogs. So I used to have a house full of cats. So, and then, of course, if you don't win a copy of this book today in the event, or you are, we're going to be posting up on Facebook tomorrow another option to win a copy of the book. If you don't win either of those, or you just can't wait, you could call your local yarn store and see if they have the book in stock. And if not, you can come to the book link on planetpearl.com, and you'll see that, it's actually the top book right now, is that you would go and you could click the link to buy the book at Amazon and help support Planet Pearl, because we'll get a little commission, which helps us pay for things like GoToMeeting for events like today. So, and of course, if you don't win, you see, because I'm showing you at my administrator page for Planet Pearl's website, you see that scheduled post right there for tomorrow at 8 a.m. Yeah, that's your chance to win another copy of the book. So you'll definitely want to check that out if you aren't the lucky winner today. So, well, thank you, Sharon. What are you working on now? You got to be doing something.
Well, actually, the next book in the series just went to the Tuck editor, so it's going to be Quick Crocheted Accessories for Baby.
Oh, wonderful.
And it is so stinking cute. I can't. It's so hard not to show these things to people. It's really, really cute. I'm excited. I worked with a lot of the same designers again, and then some other great baby designers that you might know, and that'll be out in 2016. So.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, and my niece is having a baby, and so she had asked me to do a little hat for the baby to come home from the hospital in, because she's too busy. She did it for her other two kids, and just going through baby patterns and finding, they're just so cute. Their little baby patterns are just so cute. So I can imagine.
A little bit of yarn.
Yeah. So, okay, well, we'll be looking for that, and then you'll come back and talk to us and give us a guided tour.
I will.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, Kate says she can't wait. She loves baby stuff. Who doesn't love baby stuff? So thanks for joining us today. Don't go away, Sharon, because we're about to give away a book. People in the room, don't budge, because you'll lose your chance to win. So thanks, and we'll see you next year for the new book.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.